Hello everyone, this is Reza Dorrani. In today's video, I will showcase a complete SharePoint Document Library browsing experience in PowerApps. So just like in modern SharePoint libraries, we have a view called the Tiles view, wherein you can preview the document and see its details. We'll replicate that same behavior in PowerApps. We will also create a breadcrumb-like experience in PowerApps so that we can navigate through the folders in our document library and access the files within those folders. We will add refiners to our document library and much more. All of this without using any Power Automate flows. So let's get started with the video, but first, my introduction. Here in PowerApps, I have my document library viewer experience, wherein I have a gallery on the left-hand side, which showcases all the documents or files in my library. And when I select a specific document, the viewer on the right-hand side will showcase that document for me. PDFs, Word, PowerPoint, and Excel will be showcased directly in the PDF viewer control in PowerApps. And if there are any image files, they will be showcased directly in an image control. All of this was demonstrated in part 1 of my video, the link to which is in the description of this video. We have files in a document library, but what about a full document library browsing experience, wherein my document library could contain folders? So I would like to browse through all the folders and look at all the files within folders in my document library. So to get started with that feature, the first step is I will go to my document library. I will add a folder and I will create regional folders here. So I'll create one folder called Europe. I'll create a second folder here called Asia. And I will move some of these files into these respective folders. Now that I have moved some of the files within these folders, in SharePoint, if I click on a specific folder, it will showcase all the files within those folders. And I can also create nested folders here. So I can have a second level folder or a third level folder. So for Europe, let's say I add Spain and France. And in these as well, I can have files. Let's say I just move these. So now I have a folder for Europe that has a file and 2 folders, additional country-based folders. And if I select, for example, France, I can see the files under France. Now, if I was to access my app in PowerApps, if you observe right here, I get those folders right here, which is Europe, Asia, Spain, France, and I also get all my documents. So basically, when PowerApps queries my data source, which in this case is my documents library, it's going to get all the documents, including folders, from my document library. Now, as part of my gallery, I have this thumbnail that I'm showcasing the image associated with my file. However, for folders, there is no thumbnail. So what I can do right here is if this item dot isFolder. So there's a property called isFolder. If it is a folder, this property will return the value true. So if it's a folder, I will go ahead and showcase an image called folder that I have already included in my media in the app. So showcase folder if the item is a folder, else continue showcasing the thumbnail. Now if I preview my app in case of folders, it's clearly showcasing it right here. First, let's try and understand how we can filter out the folders. That is, let's say my document library has folders and files within folders, like it is in my case. But in PowerApps, my requirement is such that I want to show all the files and filter out the folders. The current gallery experience here in PowerApps, it gives me all the files in the document library, irrespective of whether they are in a folder or not. So all I have to do is just filter out these items that are folders. So how do I go about doing that? Now it might sound very simple that I can select my document library, go to the items property and filter them out. I already have a property that says isFolder, so I come to know if it is a folder or not. This returns a Boolean value, so I can check to see if isFolder is equal to false. Then it will filter out all the folders and show me only the files, which is exactly what the gallery does right here. And if I only want to see the folders, I just change this property to true, and now the gallery will only showcase the folders. So since I need all the files irrespective of the folders, I'll set it to false. Gallery shows me all the files. What's the problem? Well, the problem is right here. If you observe the formula, there are these blue lines below the isFolder function that clearly says there is a delegation warning in my app. If I go to the app checker, go to formulas, here are those delegation warnings here as well. If I look at the app, I get this hazard-like symbol. There's a delegation warning. That means this formula will not work with large data sets. How large? And that depends on the delegation limit that I have set in my app. So if I go to File, go to Settings, go to Advanced Settings, the base delegation limit that's set for any new app is 500, and this can be increased to a maximum of 2000. You cannot go beyond 2000. So knowing that the max delegation limit is 2000, if your document library is within 2000 files, including folders, then in that case, you may not be worried about the delegation warning. However, for scenarios wherein your document libraries are going to grow beyond 2000, you got to start thinking about delegation. So now comes the question, how do I avoid this delegation warning related to this property called isFolder? Now, because isFolder is not delegable, what we need to do is just use a simple trick. I'll go to my document library. I'll go to Settings and Library Settings. I will head over to Advanced Settings and turn on the management of content types. I will go to the bottom and say OK. So this basically adds a content type to my document library, which is document. In my library, I'll first create a column. I will call this hidden isFolder. It's a single line of text. And here, one key thing I would like to incorporate is, you see default value. Let's set a default value here of no. So just simple text that says no. And I will go right here and click OK. Now if I go to the document content type, that column that I just created is a part of my content type. If I select this, I do not want the users to interact with this column whatsoever. So I'm going to make it hidden. So I'll change this to hidden and I will click OK. So my settings are saved. So now back to my documents library, and I've deleted all the files in my document library. I've just kept the folders. So I'll show you what happens if I create a new folder and what happens when I upload a file. So first, let me go ahead and upload a file. I'm going to upload 3 files. Click upload. So these files are going to be uploaded right here. Observe as those files got added, because I created that column and added it to a content type. If you observe right here, the hidden isFolder property for those files is set to no. Now, if I was to create a folder at any level in this document library, so let's say I go to Asia and add a folder for the country India. If I do that, because the content type in this case is not a document, it's a folder, you observe the hidden isFolder column that I created, the value is empty. And this is true for any other folder that I create in this document library. But if I was to upload files, so let's say I go into the folder India and I upload a couple of PDF documents, the moment the files come in, this property is going to be set to no. And this property cannot be customized by the user because I've made it hidden in the forms. If I go back now to my document library in PowerApps, we were getting this delegation issue here because it was that system column called isFolder. But guess what? I can change this now. I can change this to hidden isFolder is equal to, I created it as a single line of text, and if it is not a folder, I set its value to no. So if I do this, there is no delegation warning and it gives me the same results. If I change this to hidden isFolder is equal to blank, this will list out just my folders. Once again, without any delegation warning. So our first problem is solved. If I set this filter, which is hidden isFolder is no, this will list out all the files in my document library. Now let's look at the next part. When I view the documents library in SharePoint, it's first showing me all those files and folders at the first level. Now what if I want to create this experience for the user? For each item in my document library, there's something known as the folder path. So let's first see what value we get in the folder path. I will change the items property to documents once again, so it will list out everything which is files and folders. And in my gallery, I will add another label and I will set its text to this item dot folder path. And I'm going to place it right here. Now, if I go ahead and preview this app, this is giving me the folder path, right? So Europe and Asia are sitting at the root level of the document library. And if you look at the folder path, it is shared space documents slash. Same thing for Asia. Spain is within Europe, so the folder path is shared documents slash Europe slash. So I can clearly see the folder path, which signifies where the document is in the document library experience. So now, how do I go about filtering my data so that I see the data only at the specific level and allow the user to browse through my document library? Now, once again, we might think that I can go ahead and use the filter formula and say, okay, filter my documents library where the folder path is equal to shared documents slash, and that is the path to the root of my document library. And if I preview my app, I will see all those documents that are at the root level. If you observe from a SharePoint standpoint, I have 3 files and 2 folders. In the Power App, I see exactly that. But once again, we are running into that same delegation error. So now comes the question, how do I avoid this delegation issue? For this, we will again use a hack. And this hack assumes that you already have your folder structure in place prior to the documents coming in. So for example, my documents library, I know I'm creating it for regions. So I already have my regions defined like Asia, Europe, and within these I have my countries defined. Now I will once again go to my library settings. I need a column so I can maintain that folder path. So for that, once again, I will create a column. I will call it hidden folder path and I will keep it as single line of text. For the default value, I will set it to shared documents slash. Now this is very important that you match exactly what you see right here in PowerApps as the folder path of your documents that are at the root. So it depends on the name of your document library. I am using the out-of-the-box documents library. So the internal name for that library is shared space documents. That's why the path is shared space documents slash. So that's exactly what I've put in place here. I'll click OK. And if I go to the document content type now, my hidden folder path column here as well, I will select this and ensure that I hide this from all the forms. So I'll click OK. So both of these columns are now hidden. Now I need to set that folder path default value based on where the user is uploading the file, in which folder. So how do I set the default value? In SharePoint, in document library settings, we have the option here called column default value settings. So if I select this, this will show me all the default values that are set for my columns. So here at the documents library level, I have the hidden folder path set as shared documents slash. Now if I click on Asia, it still has that same default value path, but I want to change it. So I will select this column, and right here I can specify my own default value. And this would be shared documents slash the name of my folder slash, and I will click OK. So now for Asia, the default value for that column will be set to this path the moment a file goes into that folder. And I can do the same thing for every other folder. So here's my folder called India. I'll go to hidden folder path, go to default value, and set this as shared documents Asia India. And I will do the same for all the other folders as part of my document library. It's extremely important that this matches the exact path of the folder. Also important that you ensure that you end all the paths with a slash, because that's what you get in the folder path. Now once I have that set up, let's see what happens when I start uploading files into my document library. So I'll upload a couple of files at the root. The hidden isFolder property will be set to no, and check that hidden folder path property. That's being set to shared documents slash, because I am creating these files at the root. Now if I go into Asia and upload a file here, this will upload the document at this folder level and set the folder path accordingly. Here are a couple of files that I'm adding inside the folder India. And I will now go ahead and upload files across all my folders so that we can see the entire experience in PowerApps. So I've gone ahead and uploaded files. One thing that I would still have to do though is, if you observe for my folders, I don't have the hidden folder path defined. So what I can do here, I will define the folder paths manually for my folders that I'm creating. Remember, the folder experience setup is a one-time setup here. That's an assumption that you have your folders predefined, you have your structure predefined of your document library before you start opening up your document library for users to start uploading content. So I've set the folder path for my root level folders. I will do the same thing for all the other folders as well. Once I have that defined, I will head back to PowerApps, wherein I was getting the delegation warning related to the folder path shared documents, which is my root folder of my document library, which is the library itself. Now I can change this to my hidden folder path column that I just created. And the outcome will be the same, but I do not have any delegation warning, so it will work with large document libraries. So I have this experience complete here, but how do I go about giving the users an option so that they can browse through the library? So if I select my files, it's going to load up right here on the right hand side. However, if I select folders, I want the user to go inside the folder here. So how do we go about doing that? So in the filter condition, I have the path here to the root of my document library. What I will do is I will go to app on start and set a variable. I will call this varCurrentPath and I will give it that value. And because I'm in the edit experience, I will right click on the app node and run it so that we have this variable set. And now instead of using the hard-coded text here, I will use the variable. Of course, the result will be the same because the variable currently has the path to the root of my documents library. Now, when the user selects an item here, that is on select of an item in the gallery, I will go ahead and update that path if the item is a folder. So the formula will be if this item dot is folder, that means the current item that the user has selected, if it is a folder, then go ahead and set that path variable to this item dot folder path, that is whatever is the folder path for this item, and this item dot name, that's the name of the folder. And because the paths end with a slash, I will add again an ampersand and concatenate a slash there at the end, and I will close my formula. So basically all I'm doing here is changing the path. If I preview my app now, And let's say I select Asia. If you observed, it went into that folder for Asia. And just to confirm, I will put the path value in a label control so we can see what's the path. So there you go. We are in the folder Asia. Now if I click on a document here, it's going to load that file right here on the right hand side. And at the same time, I can see the folders within Asia. Now if I click on India, it's going to take me within the folder India and show me all those documents. And once again, I can start selecting those documents. Now what's missing here is an option for me to go back. How do I send the user back to, let's say, the root? If I go to SharePoint and if I go to Asia and let's say if I go to India, you see I have this nice breadcrumb here. I can select Asia, I can select documents, I can go back to the root. I have those options there. So how can I create a breadcrumb-like experience right here? Once again, I will run my app on start, so the variable is once again set to the root. Now in order for me to create that breadcrumb-like experience, I will insert a gallery and I will pick a blank horizontal gallery. I will place the gallery right here on the top. And for the items property of this gallery, I will use the following formula: split the variable, which is the variable that contains the path. Now because the path has a slash, I can split this based on slash. So this will return a table of all the items on the path. Now because we have a slash at the end, I will always have this empty value in this table. And in order for me to avoid that, instead of using the path with the slash at the end, I will remove that last slash by using the following formula: left of my path, length of my variable, which is my path, minus 1. So basically remove the last element in that string, which is that slash. Now I get a table which has all the values between those slashes. So here I get my shared documents. I will edit the gallery. So I have the first item context selected, which is the template of my gallery. And I will go ahead and insert a button. We'll place this button right here. And for the text property of this button, I will use this item dot result. I've changed the font size. So I have my button right here. Now because I want to make this look like a breadcrumb-like experience, I will just give a little bit of styling to this button. So the button has a property called radius top right. I will set this to 50. And there is also a property called radius bottom right. So basically on the right hand side of the button, I'll set this to 50. So if I preview this, you see I get this little curve-like experience. I will also make sure that the width of my template is around the size of my button here. And this is my gallery. And for the OnSelect of the button, I have set the following formula. Basically what this formula does is it goes and sets that variable again. And it sets it based on the item in this breadcrumb gallery that is selected, and it regenerates that path using a little bit of formulas. All of these formulas, I will plug it in the description of this video, so you can just go ahead and straight away grab it. Now let's preview the app. So here's shared documents. I know I'm at this level in my document library. Now, if I click on Asia, this will take me into the folder Asia and show me all the documents within Asia. Now within my folder Asia, I have a couple of other folders. Let's say I select the folder India. Now it's taken me 2 levels deep. And if I want to go back, this is like a breadcrumb. If I click Asia, it will take me back to the level for Asia. If I click on my document library again, it will take me straight back to the root. And this is a full document library browsing experience. If I pick PowerPoint, it's going to open it right here in that PDF viewer. Here's an image file. Go inside Europe. Here's a file that I selected in Europe. It's going to show me that file right here. I can go back. I can go to Asia, maybe go to Malaysia and pick the files right here. So this is a full document library browsing experience without any delegation warnings and no usage of flow whatsoever. Another important thing that you need to ensure is in place is for this gallery that's showing the documents, make sure that the default property is set to this empty record, so that whenever we change the path by clicking on a specific folder, it's actually a query against my document library to get the files based on that path. We reset the library to that empty record so that the user is then free to go and make selections once again inside that specific hierarchy where the user is in the document library. Another thing that you can add in SharePoint document libraries is, of course, your own columns, your own metadata. So here I have added a status column wherein I'm maintaining the status of my documents. Now for my gallery here, let's say if I would like to showcase the status, I will add another label control here at the bottom. The text will be this item.status.value, because status is a choice column in my SharePoint list. So I've just added some background color to my label control wherein I'm checking to see the status, and based on the status I'm setting some background color to it. So if I actually go and preview my document library experience now, I can even see the status of my document. So if I select this, the status for this document is new. This one's approved. And all of this will work as I start traversing through my library experience as well. We can also add filters. Just like we filter our lists in PowerApps, we can even do the same for libraries. I will add a drop-down control here. The items property would be choices of my library, which is documents, dot my status column. So it will get all the choices from there, which is new, approved, pending, and declined. And for this drop-down control, I will also allow empty selection. So I'll keep this as true. So if I preview this, I'll see all my selections. If I select it again, it'll go empty, so I can select. Now let's say my use case is such that if the status is empty, it's going to show me everything. If the user selects a specific status, I only want to see the items related to that status. I will go back to the items property of my gallery and now add the following formula. So show me all my items where the folder path is matching, and the status dot value is equal to my drop-down control dot selected dot value. And here, because I want to also handle the empty scenario, so I'm going to say or is blank of my drop-down control dot selected, and the status logic, I'm going to put it in brackets. So now if I go ahead and preview my app, once again, I'm seeing everything at my document library level. Empty means it's going to show me everything at this level. Let's say I change the status to new. Now it's going to only show me the new files at this level. If I change this to approved, it will show me the approved files at this level. If I make this empty, it's gone and I can see all my files and my folders. If I select Europe and this time I go to France, here are all my files within France and I can see the status of all of those files. And if I filter here, it will give me the refined results. If you enjoyed this video, then do like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And thank you so much for watching.